With 6 consecutive HLTV Top 20 appearances, a Counter-Strike icon, f0rest.
Every time I play, I think I'm the best. It's like, Mom, what is going on? Why are people being mean to me? You've done this for so many years. Why now? Finally, Neo, look at me, man.
Hello, everybody. I would like to start off with thanking HLTV for hosting this night, where we get the chance to celebrate all the players, the teams, and especially Counter-Strike, because that is what I grew up loving until this day. It still stands strong, and it's unbelievable to think that I stand on this stage in front of you all, and we're celebrating Counter-Strike to this degree. Could not imagine.
Yeah, dust yourself off.
Yeah. I'm old now.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hall of Fame.
Thank you very much. It's an honor.
Yeah, there's sort of got to be a source of pride that you have the pillars of 2 generations of Swedish Counter-Strike. Heaton and Potty.
Yeah.
In the early days, you and Get Right taking it up, in 2009, moving on into CSGO. That's a cool legacy, not just for you, but for Swedish Counter-Strike.
I mean, as you said, I think it's a great way to kind of start off the Hall of Fame. You had 2 of the biggest names, Heaton and Potty, in the early years of Counter-Strike. But I am more thankful to be inducted with my brother-in-arms, Get Right. I mean, the timing of this is, honestly, some people think like I planned this or...
With your retirement?
Yeah, with the retirement, with everything, people have been memeing with the watch and everything, but the way it just lined up, and once they asked me to take a part of Hall of Fame, I was a little bit floored, because it really puts perspective on your career and maybe the impacts that I've had that I maybe did not realize. I'm not one of those guys that really think about what I've done, I just get to see what people tell me, and this is a big way for me to get hit in the face and, hey, you've done some incredible stuff throughout the years, and I'm very grateful to be a part of it.
What's been your main takeaway when you've kind of been forced to reflect and look back on your own career instead of the pundits from the outside kind of bigging up your accomplishments? What's your takeaway from reflecting back on the past, 20 years of Counter-Strike, 22 years of Counter-Strike?
Yeah, close to 17, 18, yeah, something like that. I think the biggest takeaway for me has been something that I value as well, is I've been very loyal. I've been putting a lot of trust in the people I choose to play with, and I think it paid off very well. The individuals I've been very lucky to play with has granted me also a very long and great career.
But it's one guy, you mentioned my name, and goddamn you, I need to mention your name as well. Get Right. You have been my brothers in arms throughout many, many years, and you made my career very successful. So I applaud you, sir, and thank you so much.
But Get Right is one of the best goddamn players I could have picked and choose to play with, and I'm glad that he wanted to play with me as well. But I think the biggest reflection, the whole part of it, is me staying loyal and actually trusting the process of the individuals and seeing people for who they are, and if I can actually commit to this. And every single choice I've made has been, I don't regret a single thing I've done.
When I spoke with Get Right yesterday and we talked about you guys and your pairing in particular, because it's unique. We have Heaton and Potty and you and Get Right. One thing he told me that was his big takeaway was we would have never had a Hall of Fame Get Right, 2-time best player in the world Get Right, major champion Get Right, without f0rest being next to him. I was the one who always had to grind and deathmatch and study, and you were the one who would show up and just make it look easy. And there was almost a level of competition for him where he was like, I have to be able to match that.
It becomes a competition within the competition, right?
Yeah.
Kinda, but a healthy one. But at the same time, at some point, I just realized I am a little bit unmatched in this competition. I know I'm good. Every time I play, I think I'm the best, right? That's been my whole mentality throughout. But watching him play and seeing the things he does, he definitely elevated me as well. And I'm sure that without him, I would not have as long as career, or maybe won as much tournaments, right? I think we both it was the perfect match, right? We complemented each other so well inside the game, right? That it just boosted our our playing ability through the roofs and made it somewhat a competition.
Let's talk a little bit. Go back to the beginning of your career, pre-Get Right, because I still remember very clearly having a conversation after CPO with Calippo.
Yeah.
From Beaker. I think I've told you this story before, where I was talking to him at IRC after an event, and he just basically said, "There's this guy coming up in Swedish Counter-Strike." This was like in 2002 or 3.
Yeah.
And he was like, "There's this guy f0rest who's going to be unbelievable. He's going to destroy Counter-Strike." Like he just saw it coming.
Yeah.
Did you see it coming when you were at the beginning? Could you feel it when you were rising up through the ranks?
And not really. I was playing with friends. I was basically playing with friends, and we LAN hopped. Or we played every single LAN. Just me and my real life friends, right? We just played all the LANs we could in Sweden. We went to all the internet cafes, tournaments, all this stuff. But I never really noticed that I stood out in that regard. I just played Counter-Strike, right? Yeah. But then at some point, people started calling me a cheater, and I started to get some offers. I remember there was this internet cafe where I lived called Virtual Experience Online at that time, who had some well-known players at that time. You had Kopp, you had Tentpole, you had Jagan at some point as well. Anyway, so they asked me to come and try out for them. And I was like, hey, sure. But they said, but you have to come to the cafe and play because we don't think...
Because we think you might be cheating.
Yeah. That was, basically. They basically straight up said, hey, we want you to play for us, but we think you're cheating, so come here and play. And if you can perform, then join. And that was like the beginning of like the whole journey of me realizing, hey, I might actually have some impact.
Yeah. So that's your step into the competitive scene, the professional scene. Is there like a moment where you realize looking back, you're like, I can do this for a long time. Like I'm awesome.
I think after, like when I went to I always speak about this tournament, but I think that tournament is the biggest one for me that I actually hit everything. WEG 2005. Yeah. South Korea, away for a month, I believe, a month-long tournament. I was playing in Begrip with Calippo and Iskal, Tentpole, and Robin. That tournament, we managed to win. This was my first international tournament I ever played. First LAN, like big LAN I went to, and we won that straight up. Bam! We beat all these amazing teams, all these amazing players that I've now seen and like kind of, oh shit, they're good. We went in there and we won that tournament. After that tournament, like it felt like everything in my brain, everything surrounding Counter-Strike just unlocked, you know? Yeah. Okay, I can do this. I can do this good. So like my family was convinced, I was convinced, teammates around, like everything has made sense. And from that point forward, there was no looking back. I just steamrolled ahead. And now I had bigger ambitions where I wanted to be like the best. Yeah. Not only like playing Counter-Strike, I wanted to be the best Counter-Strike player.
When you reflect back on 1.6, you know, what's the big takeaway there? Because Counter-Strike hadn't really grown into sort of the monstrosity isn't the right word, but now it's a big production. 1.6 was a lot more chill. How do you feel that progressed across your career, 1.6? When you look back, the game, it kind of rose and grew with you. The IEM started coming in, more arena events. You kind of got to be part of the rise going from hotel ballrooms to now South Korea in front of an audience.
Yeah, I don't think I ever reflect. Now that you mention it, like I've been very bad at reflecting the past. I just realized that when you say this, right? But you're absolutely correct. Like when I started off playing, right, we were sitting at the worst place possible in some random basement playing tournaments, right?
Till 5 in the morning.
Till 5 in the morning. It was nothing was really in check, but everybody was just having a good time anyways, right? Competition was still fine. But then, as you said, IEM started coming in. And I think during 1.6, I think towards like 2006 maybe, I think the scale of 1.6 also got very big because all of a sudden we were played at these big conventions. Okay, we still did not have like our separate gaming event, but we were taking a big space at big conventions, right? Gamescom being one of the bigger tournaments, right? And you can see more audiences starting to flood around, and now you got to play on big stages. And now I think it was a very nice evolution. I think it was hard to me to realize that. It felt like everything just continued. I just kept doing my thing. I was playing Counter-Strike. I was winning tournaments. I was doing my thing,
so
and everything around it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Meanwhile, I was locked in at the PC, right? Still, when I was playing in CS:GO, like in Katowice or something, you would play on the main stage. Like I'm still locked in on this monitor. But when you take a step back and you see the picture of the audience, like it's hard to imagine how big it has become, and I see nowhere where it's going to stop. But I've been through it all.
This is a perfect moment. You brought some things in to reflect on. Can we pull those out from under the chair?
Oh yeah.
Under yours, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, of course. I did bring some stuff. You guys did ask me to bring, and obviously this is.
It's a game-worn jersey.
Game-worn jersey. I cannot pinpoint exact. Probably DreamHack Masters.
Malmö?
Like 2017-18 maybe.
Okay.
Stockholm, something like that.
Yeah. It's got the quarter button. That's
yeah.
Nice touch.
I do remember Dennis was in the lineup in NIP, but this is obviously, I just wanted to bring a jersey to signify has been what I've been the most related to throughout my whole career is the NIP jersey, where I've spent most of
your career.
Yeah, most of my career in NIP, right? And where people now, I go hand in hand with NIP, right? Like when people look back, it's like f0rest and NIP, right?
Yeah. With the kind of NIP that you formed with Freiburg and Fifi, you are one of very few people who have 3 games worth of Counter-Strike influence when you consider the Source angle. Never played it, never competed in it, but you obviously had to pull from their knowledge of Source a little bit. You flashed it a little bit earlier. 1.6 players always have a bit of an ego over the Source players.
Yeah.
Did you take anything from them? Is there anything that like the Source players came in and you were like, you know what? God damn it! I can't believe these Source idiots actually had a good idea.
What I really enjoyed with f0rest and Freiburg was they played a lot more structured Counter-Strike. And the angle we was looking for when CSGO was announced and we were trying to create this team was because the engine was built upon Source. The nades worked similar to Source. And so what we learned very early on from f0rest, it was the way they structured things surrounding attacks on like with the set nades and flashes and teamwork and making sure the execution is on point. So like really emphasizing on like the team part of Counter-Strike was really cool to see from their scene, like how well drilled or like a well-oiled machine they were in Source, and I really enjoyed that. In Counter-Strike, in 1.6 it was a little, we had strats, not to the same degree as they did.
There weren't smoke and nade lineups.
I mean, not like that hardcore, right? We were very more individual. I cannot speak for Source, I not watch Source, I don't know. But in 1.6 it felt like we were more individual, like individuals would take control of rounds. We would set up a basic round and then an individual will just pop off and we will trade and like more shooting part. And it felt more strategic from Source. And it felt like that mix we got with both of them, with our style, made one hell of a team.
Yeah. I mean, you said you've kind of struggled at times to reflect, and I don't know if this is something that you would necessarily need to reflect on, but the fact that lineup goes 87-0, that record's never going to be broken.
No.
Like ever. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Do you ever reflect on that? Like,
yeah,
how incredible?
I do from time to time. Yeah, I do realize like, there's no like what we did is
it's not physically possible to beat that record anymore.
No, I don't think so. No, no, it won't be. It won't be. And I know people like to downplay it.
Early in CSGO.
Early CSGO. Really but at that time, that was like those teams. You had legit teams, and people like to downplay it. But at that time, we were unmatched. That's just the way it is. People like to say people didn't want to. People didn't put in time. Sure, they did.
And
of course
like,
they did.
And also, like you could maybe downplay like 20-0, but 87.
Yeah,
there's something there.
Yeah, and at some point, even at like 10-0 or 15-0, right? The teams that comes after you at that point, because now they want to be the team that beats you. Yeah. Now you're hunted by the whole goddamn scene. They want to take your head off. They want to be crowned the Kingslayer, right? So now we have added pressure because now we're playing every single team is now a threat. And there was this UK team, I don't remember exactly what they were named. I'm truly sorry, my memory is not the best, but it involved Rattlesnake, I remember. Okay. And they were always very, very close to beating us. We were talking a really close scoreline, like 16-14, 16-14 scorelines, and felt like those guys really were out to get us. But no, that one was incredible. And at some point we also had to we had to trust our game and our individual. Like we had to build our game. We cannot focus on other teams at this point.
Prep for double teams the way they were for you.
We had to stop because at that time you also played a shit ton of matches and tournaments left and right, and you traveled, and we just had to practice our own game. We just had to make sure that was sealed tight, or however the expression goes. But yeah, once we did lose, eventually. I do remember I stood up. The first thing I did after we lost, I think it was the first map or the match, I stood up. This was in Ukraine, in Kyiv. I stood up and I started applauding my teammates. It was bound to happen. The question was not if, it was when, right? And this was the moment we lost, and I started applauding and saying, hey, we did one hell of a job. What we did today, or throughout this month, no one will ever do this. Like, remember that. No one will ever do what we have done here. So it's a bittersweet moment, but holy hell, 87-0 rings good.
Yeah, it really does. It's going to ring good throughout all of eternity as well. Talk about some of the rivalries you had. You know, probably after the 87-0 period, you had the French rivalry with Very Games. I mean, all the French players and teams.
Yeah, Very Games was one of the most long-standing rivalries. But yeah, that was a really good rivalry. At some point, they did catch up, right? They found our weakness, and we started to falter a little bit. And we started trading some tournaments and maps. And no, that was one hell of a rivalry. Because I did hear beforehand that these players coming from Source, they are unreal. They are unreal. And hey, at the beginning, I was cocky, right? Because at that point, my ego was through the roof, right? I always think I was like the best. Like, there's no way the Source players can come in here into my territory of Counter-Strike.
That's my 1.6 right there.
Exactly, right? There's no way they're gonna waltz in here and have a goddamn chance. But eventually, you could see the awesome players that did rise from that. You had Shocks, you had Kenyas. There's literally so many players, French players, that come out of that scene and had such a huge impact on Counter-Strike. And it was a fun rivalry. Rivalry is very healthy even though like you hate losing, right? But it's also fun. Those matchups are the best to play. Like
when you guys go back and forth the way you guys do so
you
much.
love to join that server. You are fired up. You're ready to go. You want to smash their faces in, you know? It's so good.
And I imagine, obviously, you had to have had one with the Polish guys as well, going back to 1.6. Obviously, you and Neo always have that discussion between you about the greatest of 1.6, but as teams, you've probably clashed against Taz, Neo, Pasha, all the Cuban, all the time.
Yeah, the Poles were, dude, I think like this. In 1.6, people talk about me and Neo, right? And I was like, in CSGO, I joined, like in NFP, I was still top of the game. I was steamrolled. I was like, there's no way. Like, finally, Neo, look at me, man. Look at me, man.
Look at me,
I'm out here, I'm flying high, life is good, I'm dominating. And all of a sudden, these guys, man, they show up, right? They bring in Snacks, Bialy, I think. It was Snacks, Bialy, Taz, Neo, and Pasha. Yep. So Neo, Taz, and Pasha, I played before in 1.6. I played them before in CSGO. I thought, nah, it's not going to be anything, right? Yeah. Dude, this guy refused to give up, right? Neo comes back, wins the major, and all that shit. And now he had a long-ass career now. And till this day, we like go neck and neck, like compete. Like till this day, like, dude, just give up. That is also like the mentality. It felt like playing Virtus Pro. It's that same mentality of never giving up, right? So even if you were leading big against them, they never faltered. They never stopped. And I think that's also where the Virtus plow might come from. I don't know exactly where, or if they just steamroll opponents, but I felt like you never just beat them straight up like a comfortable win. Right. Every round, it doesn't matter if you had a 15-2 scoreline. Like it always felt like something ominous was in the air while playing, and that was horrifying to play against.
It is that emotion of, dude, just give up.
Exactly,
like,
they refuse to,
like,
but please.
Don't you realize you've been beaten yet?
They just refuse. So
did you, when you look back on those rivalries and those head-to-heads and those back and forths, did you take anything from that on like a personal level?
No, not per se. I would like to think that we also, like, I don't know if that's the case, but it would be fun if I would listen to other players, how they felt playing against us, because I'm certain that we also had some sort of aura, I hope. Yeah. But as I said, like, I am also one of those individuals that would like to think that, hey, once we're in the game, like, anything is possible. If they can do that, we can do it better, you know?
Yeah. But you guys had Nip Magic.
We had Nip Magic, right? We pulled off some amazing rounds that should not have happened, or amazing comebacks that should not been possible. NFP Magic, I know people maybe think it's a joke, but I think it's a good thing, right? NFP Magic is a good thing. It puts a terms of something impossible. And we managed to do that quite a lot. But no, I don't really adapt it. I try to focus on what was happening within my team and within myself. And trying to just work on all the pieces that I could at that time. But I did not really look at outside teams and say, hey, I should maybe look at that. No.
Well, this is a good time to bring up that last little piece of paraphernalia you brought
in. This is a little bit of a bummer.
I think it's funny. I think it's actually, we were chatting about this ahead of time.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, in my mind, you tell the story, and then I'll explain the way I looked at it. This is your badge from WCG.
Yeah, so I did bring it up, right? I was full confidence. I slammed this on the table, right? I was like, yeah. So I brought one of these player badges, WCG 2007 Grand Final, f0rest, wow, Patrick Lindbergh, Sweden. I was like, cool. And you asked, like, hey, so did you win this one? I was like, no, I don't think so. We lost in the final, right?
You were so confident that you did win it, and then you looked it up, and then you looked it up. It's like you've won so many events that you can't even remember which ones they are. This goes back a ways, though.
Yeah, but I will tell you this much. I did look it up, and you know where we actually ended?
Tell me you didn't go out in the group stage. Tell me it was like semifinals.
We went out in 17th to 24th place. So I kind of regret bringing it, but it sounded so cool at home. I was like, WCG 2007 Grand Final, hell yeah, this must be cool. And then I looked it up. No bueno, man.
They've really scammed you there with the Grand Final tag on that. It makes you feel like you made it the distance.
Yeah.
We've obviously, with you being inducted to the Hall of Fame, we're obviously going to talk a lot about wins, but just briefly, I want to touch on what was your relationship with losing like? But I mean, this is the case for anyone who competes in Counter-Strike. You go into every event aiming to win.
Yeah.
And I think like what kind of gets lost sometimes is that in reality, as a professional Counter-Strike player, you lose like 99% of the time.
Yeah.
How do you handle that as a competitor? Like was that a lesson you had to learn at some point?
Yeah, I mean, I think at that time, I think like a top 3 finish, because you played for third matches at some point. Like a top 3 finish still showed that, hey, like we're still up there. It was just not our tournament this time around, but obviously like early exits, that hits you hard, depends on the team as well. Like sometimes like if the team is not in a good state of mind, or like if it could rip up something, but there's a few losses that stuck with me. I think the hardest, like going out with NIP for the first time, missing out on the major. I think we lost to Vega Squadron. That one hit the hardest, I think, because we were...
That was Atlanta? E-League? That was at E-League.
I don't remember which it was, but it was the first time NIP missed. Like we've been in every major, and then we missed. It might have been Atlanta, yeah. Going out to Vega Squadron, that one hit me hard. Like, who are these guys? Like, why are we not beating them? Why are we not just stomping them? Why are we even here fighting for our lives to go to the major? Losing that one hit hard. It put thoughts in your head that you did not want. All of a sudden, I've been very confident throughout my whole career. That little loss kind of put a crack in the armor, because I think we failed to qualify the next one, and we failed to qualify for the next one, and I think on the 4th attempt, we managed to get back in. So there was a long cycle of being out of the major.
I remember it knocked you out of the automatic comeback to like the major. You had to go through like the online qualification parts.
Yeah, and lost that.
And that's a grind in itself. That's a crazy
and we lost that. Now the crack becomes bigger. Yeah. We fail another qualifier, crack gets bigger. So I think at that point, I think there was around, I think we revamped. At that point, I think we removed, like Exist was out. I think Exist was out, like Freiburg was out, f0rest no more, Michael Eller, like Pitt. Was only me and Get Right. I've never really struggled with performance. I feel like nothing. Sure, I have bad games. I have plenty of bad games. But Berlin Major, when we had Golden as stand-in, I played one of my worst tournament ever at a major, and that also shattered my mind. I remember there's a picture where I played. I don't know if we went out or was about to go out, one map away. I was just staring blank at the PC.
Yeah.
And I could not pull myself. I literally saw like a big vulnerability in myself, and I was so shell-shocked. I did not know what was happening. So I just stared at the monitor blank. I was like, what is going on? What is going on, Patrick? You've done this for so many years. Why now? Like, what is happening? Pull yourself together. Spoilers, I couldn't. It was a big realization for myself that, hey, even you can play horrible.
Yeah. You're not the invincible god that you felt like for the past 10 years.
Yeah, I've been feeling like that. But that one, did not. So that one was also very tough. And obviously, a few more. We were in 5 major finals. came out winner of 1.
Yeah.
That stinks. People see the winners of those 4, and we were the competitor in those 4 other 4s. And we lost and lost and lost and lost. And it also sucks, man.
Yeah.
It sucks as reflecting, looking back.
You still get the emotions coming back?
Yeah, for some of them.
Yeah.
Sure, the Virtus Pro matchup, for example, sure, there's nothing we could have, like it was just meant to be.
The first one of Fnatic shocking you has to be a painful one.
That was also a painful one, yes. And then against LDLC at DreamHack Winter, it's just like, it could have been so much more. Like, what could have been?
Yeah.
And now you just look back and it's just, shit, dude. It doesn't sound as cool, like major finalist. I don't want to be a major finalist. I want to be a major winner, dude. Like, who cares if we ended up 2nd or 15 at that point, you know? Yeah. So that also, those are like the 3 most memorable, like, things that I can look back and think about from time to time.
Okay. Let's get back onto the positive side of things. Like, if I ask you for one of your most memorable wins, like, what's the first one that comes to mind? You talked about WEG already.
That is the first one.
That
yes.
is the first one that comes to mind.
Always, because it kickstarted my whole career, right? But then also finally being able to win Cologne, finally grabbing that major trophy. It felt like, and especially having f0rest as well, right? Because it would have been absolutely devastating. Like, it just felt like it was the perfect. We needed that for that squad who had done the 87-0 and everything, and to do that with the guys. Yeah. And we did grab at least 1 freaking major trophy.
Yeah, before 50 took off.
Felt so freaking good.
Yeah, Garrett said the same thing. He was like, that was a critical win for us.
It was. And one of the one that stands out a lot, like just what it signifies to me. Yeah. And then obviously like winning Malmö in a fully packed NIP jersey, screaming fans, beating Navia, dude, that was also incredible. Yeah. But those, there's...
Well, that was almost like some nip magic. You guys came into that event and no one expected you to do anything.
No one expected.
Yeah, that was coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, and that is also... I can look back at the winning moment from that one as well. It's amazing.
Good. I'm glad you have some positive memories to go with it.
I have a lot.
Let's talk about you individually. As you know, you've always been kind of a hard player, I think, to contextualize. When I watched you play, it feels so much more fluid and off intuition. Like, I feel like there's not a whole lot of decisions being made. It's just kind of like, this is what my brain is telling me to do, and I'm not really acknowledging it. I'm just going along for the ride and killing everything along the way.
Basically, yeah.
So if someone, 10 years from now wants to come back and say, oh, I never saw f0rest play, like, what was f0rest like? How do you want people to remember you as a player?
Dude, I don't know.
It's a tough question.
It's a tough question. Like, how do people want to? Like, how should people remember?
Like,
me?
what are you? The aim god? Are you just like a mechanical wizard?
I would like to see myself. I'm very explosive. I would like to see myself an explosive player. Once, like, I get a small grip, I get a small piece of your finger or something. I take your whole hand, right? Yeah. That's the way I like to see it. Like, if I open up an entry on a site, that entry would turn into me just blowing up your whole site. I would kill all 4. Yeah. You know. So I don't know, aim god, sure. I don't know, man.
I think explosive. Explosive makes sense.
Yeah, I would like to see. I would like to see myself explosive. Like, a lot of highlights I have is basically me just entering and then boom, everybody dead.
So I guess I have a question that I would be like, because for people who didn't play back in like the 2003, 4, 5 when you began, did you ever have a moment in your career where you're like, I want to develop this kind of a style? Or was it just kind of like, I'm just going to keep playing and teammates are going to come fill in around me and I'm going to keep doing my thing and it just keeps working? And
it basically was that, honestly. I just kept playing and I was good at certain things. I like to think I was kind of aggressive. I wanted to look for fights. So one thing I'm definitely not known for is using my nades, right? I have a lot of teammates who can speak about this, who says, like, even GetRight has said this, where I just jeet my nades. I throw them.
Get rid of them as fast as possible.
10 seconds into the round, get rid of these nades. I don't want them. So this is a blessing that you can now drop nades because I don't want them, right? Yeah. Back in the days you couldn't. But I did not want to be told, like, hey, f0rest, can you smoke this? No, I can't. I want to go in. I want to shoot, you know?
I've got a guy zoned in right now.
Yeah. I think people also realized what I was good at. I was fortunate enough to play with some very good in-game leaders in the beginning with Karn and later on SK with Robin. I think they both understood what I was good at. They put me in positions where I could challenge individuals. I would straight up win a lot of one-on-ones, right? I would take out the other guy, like put me on that position, I would kill him. So I think they just utilized my strength for that. I was usually the guy looking. I wanted early fights, right? Getra was more for the end game. I was more in the early to mid game. I wanna seek fights early. So that's also where we paired so well together. So I think it just naturally just developed without me even thinking about it. It's just like people realized what I was good at, and I kind of just went with the flow as well. And I strongly suggested, hey, I want to play this position because I know I can do. Yeah.
Let's. I want to talk about really quick. I want to get your thoughts on the other guys getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. We talked about Get Right, but Heaton and Potty. I mean, I'd be curious if they influenced you or if they were an inspiration early on when you were kind of rising up. You had to have known who they were in the Swedish scene. Like, are those guys you looked at and saw what they were doing and you're like, that's awesome. I want to be part of that legacy too.
Now, that is so funny because I was so oblivious to the pro scene when I was younger. I was so oblivious that at some point when I was a kid, I watched the movie Spawn, right? Yeah. I was like, holy shit, this is a cool movie.
Like the movie Spawn?
The movie Spawn,
Hollywood?
like the
comic book remake, or
comic,
like
exactly.
The Spawn frag movie?
No, not Spawn frag movie. The movie Spawn.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I was like, shit, that's cool.
That's a legit movie too.
Yeah, it's cool. I thought it was hella cool. So I took that nickname, and it's actually spelled like the player Spawn, right? Yeah. Same way. I joined a server. People flamed the living shit out of me. I was like, Mom, what is going on? Why are people being mean to me? So what I was trying to say is that Potty, Heaton, and Spawn, what they did, like what people remember them from, like their peak and like their tournament wins, I didn't know. I was just a kid playing Counter-Strike trying to find a nickname at that point, right? Yep. But I never really looked up to other individuals because once I became a pro player, I just wanted to be better than them eventually, right? I just wanted to be proven, but I'm better. I can do that better. So once I started competing, I was not like, hey, I look up to you, Heaton, or I look up to you, Spawn. I want to beat you, Spawn. Yeah. I want to be better than you. I know people talk a lot about you. At some point, I even tried to use your nickname and people flamed me. People will want to use my nickname and they gotta get flamed, you know? No, I did not really look up to them, but I have realized for the longest of time, right? They had such a cultural impact on Counter-Strike and Swedish scene especially, and what they did was awesome, right? And that's why they're also being entered into the Hall of Fame, right? So I would take nothing away from them.
Do you take any source of pride in the fact that, you know, Heaton and Potty kind of began Swedish dominance in Counter-Strike in the early 2000s? You know, probably around, I guess, like 2007, 8, 9, you sort of took over. And you and Get Right kind of carried that forward in Fnatic in 1.6, obviously NIP and CSGO. Do you take a point of pride that, you know, you were able to carry on that kind of Swedish legacy of dominance in Counter-Strike?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Like, we kept pushing beyond. It felt like we were pushing beyond the boundaries of what was reasonable, because we had a lot of good Swedish players, and it felt like me and Get Right, we had a lot of strong players. Now me, Get Right, Gux, you have Karn, DSN, and there was a lot of players, Valle, and it just felt like we pushed and pushed and pushed and reached really strong heights. But I mean, in some regard, yeah, when you put it that way, sure, we continue the torch, but I try to pass on the torch now.
And no one's picking it up.
There's no one. If you're an aspiring Swedish player out there,
there's a torch.
Don't be shy. There's a torch lying on the ground. Just pick it up and become the next big thing. No, so that is one of the. That is also one thing I reflect on. It feels like once the whole, like Olofmeister, Frusha, JW, me, Get, like the whole. Once that stopped, like it literally.
Yeah.
We have Brollan. I guess Brollan is a good. He's young. He's actually thriving. I will not say nobody's picked up the torch, but Brollan is actually doing an incredible job when I think about it.
Yeah.
So Brollan is out there, but Brollan needs help. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's weird for the first time not really having a Swedish team.
Yeah.
There's players.
Yeah.
There's no team anymore.
That's weird. But I feel like Counter-Strike has shifted to that.
Yeah.
And it has been inevitable.
Inevitable, yeah.
Ever since like you had a few, like, I think G2 started and then FaZe Clan, and they have big success, and then now Navi. So like it just feels like every team management is now also looking, hey, why limit ourselves to one region when we can?
It makes sense in that perspective.
It makes sense, but I would like to see.
There's a shame still there as well. You're like, damn, I want that back.
I want that back, yeah.
Do you have any regrets looking back on your career?
I said I stood by every single decision, but I do actually have one regret. I think it was joining. I think Dignitas was when I look back.
Right at the tail end.
Yeah, was my first bad like decision. I think I was too nostalgic about my former teammates.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. They're hungry. Yeah. Freiburg exists, we have f0rest coach, we're bringing this new young gun, Halserk, me, Get Right exists, Freiburg, yeah. It's gonna be bang, sure, yeah. We won a lot.
We can do this.
Yeah, we won a lot, right? We can do this. But honestly, yeah, when I look back, yeah, I think I do regret that a little bit, yeah.
So quintessentially you though, when you talk at the start of this about how loyalty was one
and it became, loyalty ended up being the one thing I regretted at the end as well.
Putting trust in your teammates.
Yep.
17 years has passed, and it's time for me to leave the scene. But leaving the scene, seeing you all here, all these new players, new teams, I know that Counter-Strike is in absolutely wonderful hands, and I fear nothing for the future of Counter-Strike.
How do you feel about your career in Counter-Strike, the legacy that you've left behind?
When I announced my retirement, I broke down because I realized I've always, like, you know, but you don't know. But once I retired, I saw the people were sending so incredible messages to me, explaining ways I've impacted their lives, or they were telling stories of their earlier years when they watched, like, how I was an inspiration. And then it hit me, like, it's incredible that a guy from Sweden, 16, 17-year-old guy from Sweden, a suburb in Sweden, could have such a worldwide impact from people across the world. I leave the scene, the competitive scene, with my head held high. I did everything exactly how I would have wanted to do it, and without even blinking, I would do the journey again. I'm the goddamn best to ever do it.
Goddamn right you are. Beautiful. Well, congratulations again.
Thank you.
Yeah, for the career, for Hall of Fame, it's beautiful.
Thank you.